Blac Youngsta, best to be careful, man.
Oh, why?
For real.
What going
Blac
on?
Youngsta's name rings through Memphis like a warning siren, and the title, Memphis' Most Hated Op, isn't just clickbait.
Where he at? Where he at? Where he at? Where he at? See the last back? You see me? Down fat, cuz. Where you at, dog? Where you at? Where you at? We in Cascade right now. We just left the store.
Most know him for the deadly feud with Young Dolph, but his story goes way
True.
deeper.
Mike, I got 3 little brothers. I'm telling you, I'm working this. I used to work for money. I work for food, like $10 a day or some shit. I used to work for food so I can feed my brother. Shit, like I went through a real struggle, bro.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? If you go through the struggle, man, you gotta know how to eat. You know what I'm saying? Simple as that.
Stocking grocery shelves at 10 to navigating whispers, accusations, and gunfire, his rise was filled with chaos and controversy.
Come get the food, I just get the leftovers. First thing they say, you want to take this home with you? Instead of them throwing the food away, they ask me, do I want the leftovers? So that's the only way we were able to eat, bro. Like, and this like real life.
Before the jewelry in courtrooms, there was only poverty, pain, survival, and a kid doing whatever it took to escape the South Memphis' unforgiving streets.
Right.
Let's dive deeper into his story. Humble beginnings, the store boy of McMillan Street.
In other interviews, you had a fairly hard upbringing.
Yeah, man, we're rough coming up. Like where I come from, I ain't making that. I'm the only person from my hood that ever made it and got rich.
Before the platinum plaques, the viral Instagram antics, diss tracks, or jail time,
So what part of Memphis is Blac Youngsta from? Somebody let me know in the comments, man.
there was just Sammy Marquez Benson, a kid born on April 8th, 1990 in the unforgiving streets of South Memphis.
1990. So that mean he like what? 30, maybe 35 years old? Okay. Cause I know when he hit the scene, you know what I'm saying? He had some hits, man. He had some hits for sure.
He didn't come into the world with privilege or even a safety net. He came into poverty, into broken systems, into a life where survival was the only goal. Sammy was raised on McMillan Street, a narrow block lined with cracked sidewalks, boarded up houses, and corner stores with bars over the windows. He lived with his grandparents, Miss Ida and Mr. Harold, who took him and his brothers in after his mother, struggling with addiction, could no longer keep it together. His father was a question nobody answered. If he existed, he was absent, just a rumor in Sammy's life story. He was raised in a household where hunger was more common than dinner. Cold in the winter, hot in the summer, the lights were often shut off and the gas disconnected. Dinners could be a slice of bread and tap water sweetened with sugar. But inside that house was also resilience. Miss Ida, strict and God-fearing, made sure the boys were up early, praying before the sun rose and doing their chores before school. No matter how much faith she had, the bill stayed unpaid and hunger never skipped a night. By age 10, Sammy had already made up his mind. No one was going to rescue them. If he wanted to eat, he'd have to go get it. That's when he walked 2 blocks to Jimmy's Market on Walker Avenue. It was a small, beat-up corner store with dusty shelves, a flickering open sign, and a reputation for being one of the few safe spots on that side of town. The owner, Mr. Jimmy, had run it since the late 80s. Gray-haired, gruff but fair, he had seen kids come and go, but Sammy was different. "I need a job," Sammy told him. "Not for candy, for food." Jimmy was skeptical, but after a pause, he gave the boy a broom and said, "Let's see what you can do." That was the start. Sammy cleaned floors, stacked soda crates, swept broken glass off the sidewalk, and even scrubbed the filthy bathroom that grown men refused to use. Before school, after school, he worked whenever Jimmy would let him. At first, he made just $15 a week, but to him, that $15 stretched far. He could buy bread, bologna, a gallon of milk, and if things lined up right, a can of Vienna sausages. But Jimmy's Market gave him more than money. It gave him a window into the real Memphis. Every day, Sammy watched different walks of life come through the front door. There were the factory workers, the old ladies paying in coins, the single moms buying diapers, and then there were the neighborhood legends, the hustlers in gold chains blasting music from old.
And you know, back then, you know what I'm saying, until this day, you know what I'm saying, if you see, you know what I'm saying, look like somebody eating, they making money, you feel me, you kind of want to join the team, you know what I'm saying, you trying to see what they doing, how they get it, you know what I'm saying, so I'm quite sure that played a part in, you know what I'm saying, Blac Youngsta want to, you know what I'm saying, get in the rap game and, you know what I'm saying, cut up some.
Cadillacs, always watching their backs. They carried cash, wore fresh sneakers, and smelled like weed and cologne. They were feared, admired, and mysterious all at once. Sammy observed them closely, how they spoke, how they kept their heads on swivels, how they never showed weakness.
And
He noticed how they treated him not like a child, but like someone who might one day walk the same path. One summer day in 2001, he witnessed a fight just outside the store. Two teens threw punches over a $20 dispute. One pulled a pocket knife. Jimmy locked the door. Sammy didn't blink. He stood at the counter, eyes wide, soaking it in. That was the day, he said, his childhood officially ended. That's when I knew, Sammy said later in an interview. This world doesn't love you. You either take or get took. By the time he turned...
All it took for him was to see somebody fight over $20. And he said, hey, forget this, boy. It's up. It's up. You know what I'm saying? It's either gonna be them or me. It ain't gonna be me.
At 13, Sammy had outgrown the store not because he didn't need it, but because he was already getting pulled into the street economy. Running errands, watching packages, picking up the lingo and learning the hustle. He wasn't dreaming of rap yet. He was dreaming of heat in the house, of full fridges, of never seeing Miss Ida cry over unpaid light bills again. Jimmy's Market was his first real education. It taught him timing, loyalty, survival, and how to read people like books. Before the world knew Blac Youngsta, before the loud chains and louder personality, there was just Sammy, the store boy with tired eyes, scraped up sneakers, and a fire burning deep inside. His story didn't start with a mic. It started with a mop, a cracked tile floor, and a $15 paycheck that kept the lights on at least for one more week. A shortcut to survival. Enter the streets.
When I started swinging like 12, 13. I started getting money. Bought my first car in my pocket. And man, got that whole fixed up and shit. Yes, and then I've been having paper.
By the time Sammy Marquez Benson hit his early teenage years around 13 or 14, the limits of legal hustle had already become painfully clear. Working at Jimmy's Market for small change was noble, but nobility didn't keep the lights on. The refrigerator was still mostly empty. The water bill was overdue more months than not, and Sammy now...
Man, I wish I would see a water bill at $1,400. Man, look, we... Man, we might be out of water for about a month. You know what I'm talking about? We might be out of there for a month.
Growing into a wiry teenager with sharp instincts and even sharper eyes.
I'm just capping y'all, man. You feel me? Sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do, man. If your water bill $1,400, man, you gotta go get that $1,400.
Started to feel the pressure in his chest. The world outside his front door was changing fast. It was now the mid-2000s, 2003, 2004, when Memphis was erupting with new sounds, new beefs, and new money on the streets.
Right.
The dope game was in full swing, the violence was creeping closer, and McMillan Street wasn't just a rough neighborhood anymore. It was a battlefield where status could shift with a single trigger pull. Every day, Sammy walked past the other boys his age who were already living what looked like luxury. They weren't old enough to vote, but they were sliding through South Memphis in foreign cars, wearing designer belts, flashing gold grills, and talking to prepaid flip phones like they were CEOs. These weren't rappers or entrepreneurs. They were trappers. And to a broke teenager watching his family struggle just to make it a Friday, they looked like freedom. Sammy started to notice the contrast more and more. He'd wake up early to help his grandmother heat water on the stove just to take a bath. Then he'd walk past guys on the block who never seemed to worry about hot water or any bills at all. They had phones in every pocket and pockets that never emptied. He tried to stay clean at first. For a while, he kept working odd jobs, sweeping lots, running errands, even washing cars behind the liquor store off South Parkway. But $20 here and there couldn't keep the electricity on or put school clothes on his back. That's when the idea of shortcuts started to creep in. It began subtly around the age of 14, breaking into unlocked cars. Nothing violent, nothing loud, just quiet, fast jobs. A stolen stereo here, a loose wallet there. He and a couple of other neighborhood teens would stake out side streets at night and do what they called licks, quick scores that might get them $50 or $100 if they were lucky. That money went straight.
Well, you try to get somebody on a stereo these days, $50. You gotta run it up, cause they ain't no telling what people got in their car now, boy. They got some things in them boys now. You know what I'm saying?
Home to groceries, to bills, to his younger siblings.
Right.
But small jobs come with small returns, and in the streets, risk and reward are closely tied.
Exactly.
As Sammy grew older, about 15, 16, those small-time hustles started to evolve. Now, he wasn't just stealing things, he was being trusted with packages. First to carry, then to protect, then eventually to move. Pills, weed, whatever was in demand that week. The older guy started to notice he was smart, quiet, and didn't run his mouth. That's rare in a city where loyalty is as valuable as a pistol. By the time he turned 17, Sammy was no longer a kid looking in. He was inside the operation. Not the kingpin, not the shot caller, but far from a rookie. Memphis was changing, and not for the better. The streets had split into factions, old school sets and newer, younger cliques battling for corners, clout, and control. From Riverside to Castalia, from Orange Mound to South Parkway, the energy in the city was changed. Every young man had a choice: pick a side or risk being swallowed up by the chaos. Sammy picked his side. He aligned himself with South Memphis, the neighborhood he was raised in and loyal to. This wasn't a formal gang initiation, it was survival. Who you stood next to could save your life or end it. You had to move with people who'd shoot for you, lie for you, bleed for you. The city didn't care about lone wolves. The deeper he went, the more things changed. Money started to flow, not fast, but enough to notice. He could buy decent shoes now. He stopped wearing the same pair of jeans every other day. There was even food in the house more consistently. Miss Ida didn't ask too many questions, but she wasn't naive. She knew. She prayed harder.
Right, because you know what I'm saying? Grannies know. They know. They know before you even finna start, you know what I'm saying, trying to get into the game. You ain't gotta do nothing but just, you know what I'm saying, walk. Grannies know. I feel like they know a little bit, well, I feel like they know a little bit more than, you know, the grandpas and things like that, you know what I'm saying? So she probably seen the change, you know what I'm saying, as soon as he started jumping in the streets. That's just my opinion though.
Sammy hustled harder. But with that money came enemies. The neighborhood wasn't just dangerous, it was paranoid. You didn't just have to worry about the police, you had to worry about the guy who smiled at you yesterday suddenly trying to line you up today. He started carrying a gun around 16. A small revolver at first, then something heavier. It wasn't about being tough, it was about being alive. And that was the paradox. The more he provided, the more he had to protect. The more he gained, the more he had to lose. He started getting arrested. Petty charges at first, trespassing, loitering, curfew violations. Then came the more serious ones. Possession, intent to distribute, even robbery. Some stuck, some didn't. But every mugshot added another layer to his legend in the streets. To some, he was just another young thug spiraling out of control. But to those who knew him, to those who saw him mop floors at Jimmy's Market, he was a kid who had been backed into a corner his whole life, and now he was swinging back. It was around this time that the transformation began. Sammy Benson, the store boy, was dying, and a new persona was starting to form in his place. The city didn't birth stars, it birthed survivors. And in South Memphis, surviving meant bending the rules until they broke, and learning to live with the pieces. Early jail time and his first break. For young men in South Memphis, especially those caught in the grind of the streets, jail wasn't a matter of if, it was when. And for Sammy Marquez Benson, that when came before most people even figured out who they were. By 18 years old, Sammy had already racked up a laundry list of arrests, gun possession, drug charges, intent to distribute, and a few more serious allegations that were either
Golly. Boy, you ain't give yourself no chance. You know what I'm saying? Hey, but I don't know how rough, you know what I'm saying, Memphis is, you know what I'm saying? But God, boy, you done racked up about 3-4 charges at the age of 16. All of them sound like felonies. Straight up.
Or dismissed, depending on the lawyer or the day. But none of it was shocking to the people who knew him. In his world, jail wasn't a life-ending tragedy. It was a rite of passage, a part of the ecosystem.
Right.
His first significant arrest happened in early 2009, just months after turning 18. Memphis PD had been cracking down hard on known drug corridors, and Sammy got caught up in a sweep near South Parkway. He was found with a firearm, unregistered, and a small stash of narcotics in his backpack. Nothing major in the grand scheme of Memphis crime, but enough to get him booked, processed, and placed behind bars at the Shelby County Correctional Center. For the first time, life slowed down. Gone were the fast cars, the risky deals, the thrill of the street. In jail, there was no flexing, no Instagram, no money to flash, just cold walls, steel bunks, and the haunting rhythm of doors locking behind you. For Sammy, it was a moment of forced reflection, but it was also the first time he'd ever had real silence. And in that silence, something shifted. With nothing but time and a stack of loose papers from commissary, he started writing. At first, it was just to pass the hours. He scribbled thoughts, fragments of memories, rhymed observations about the chaos he'd seen and lived through. But the more he wrote, the more the words bled into something sharper, something louder, something that sounded like the city he came from. He wasn't just writing raps, he was testifying. In that cell, surrounded by men who had seen and done it all, Sammy began to develop a voice. His style was raw and unfiltered, heavily inspired by the Memphis legends that came before him. 3-6 Mafia, 8-Ball and MJG, Play a Fly but with more rage, more edge. It wasn't polished, but it was real. He rapped about the hunger that made him steal, the pain of watching his grandmother cry over eviction notices, the paranoia of carrying a pistol everywhere, even to the corner store. It was aggressive, unapologetic, but beneath the violence was a broken young man trying to turn his survival story into something permanent. Fellow inmates started to take notice. He'd rap for people during yard time, spit verses in the day room, and turn cafeteria tables into stages. Some laughed, some nodded, but most listened. It was behind bars that he earned a nickname that would eventually evolve into something greater. He started calling himself Blac Youngsta. Black for his identity, Youngsta for his age and mentality. It wasn't a stage name yet, it was more of a warning, a declaration, a way of saying, don't mistake my youth for weakness. I've earned these scars. By the time his sentence was up just a few months later, he wasn't thinking about jumping back into the street game the same way. Sure, the hustle would always be there, but now he had something else. Something that could make noise, something that could make money. When he got out...
Hey man, if it's a way up out of there, out the streets, you might as well go on and take it. You know what I'm saying? Just go ahead and take it. You got a talent, man. You know what I'm saying? Blac Youngsta, you feel me? As far as I'm concerned, that boy got some heat that comes out his mouth. You know what I'm saying? He be dropping some. He be dropping some bangles for sure. You know what I'm saying? It definitely sounded like he was a menace too.
He didn't waste a
That's for
second.
sure.
He went back to South Memphis, but this time with a different hunger. He started recording rough tracks in makeshift home studios, using borrowed equipment and YouTube beats. No label, no plan, just pain, rhythm, and a voice that demanded to be heard. Blac Youngsta wasn't trying to be a rapper, he was trying to survive another way. And for the first time, survival didn't mean dodging cops or ducking bullets, it meant picking up a mic and never putting it down. The birth of Blac Youngsta. He adopted the name Blac Youngsta and began releasing mixtapes that quickly caught local buzz. Tracks like Heavy and On Sight were loaded with energy and street-coded language, and they became anthems in the hood. The internet started paying attention too. Fans on forums began comparing his energy to early Gucci Mane with a Memphis twist, but it was only a matter of time before someone big noted.
Nah, I ain't even go compare him to Gucci, man. Nah. That's two different whole flows, you know what I'm saying? If you ask me, that's two different whole flows. Gucci Mo, you know what I'm saying? Just like he ride the beat, you know what I'm saying? I think Blac Youngsta definitely is a more lyrical, or you know what I'm saying, than Gucci Man. Gucci Man sound like he's straight in the goddamn in the back of in the closet somewhere. You feel me? Straight up. Blac Youngsta, I think, you know what I'm saying, he take that pen, that paper, I think he, you know what I'm saying, he put his stuff together, he worked a little Magic Gucci. Back then, Gucci, yeah, he sound like he just said what he seen, straight up. Whatever he seen, he said it.
Yo Gotti signs him. CMG era begins. In 2015, the call came. Yo Gotti, the godfather of Memphis rap, wanted to sign him to Collective Music Group, or CMG.
And she shot right there.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, whether the CMG epic.
That cosign changed everything.
Every time somebody gets signed, bro, they look like they scared. I don't know if it's because, you know, they thinking about their life in the change, or it's something behind it, you know, something behind that ink and that pen. I mean, besides behind that paper and that pen, you know what I'm saying? My bad, y'all, if I can be getting my little word mixed up, you know what I'm saying? It's raw and authentic, you know what I'm saying? Reaction videos. So it is what it is, you feel me? But yo, I wonder why folks be looking like that, you know what I mean?
Suddenly, Blac Youngsta went from local fame to national recognition. He dropped I Swear to God and followed it with Young and Reckless, drawing millions of views. The money, the fame, the jewelry, it all started pouring in. But with more eyes came more enemies, and nothing would prepare him for what was coming. The Dolph situation, seeds of a blood feud. In the Memphis rap game, Yo Gotti and Young Dolph had a rivalry that was known but never fully explained. They came from different sides of the city and they had different philosophies. Dolph represented independence. He refused major label offers and made it on his own. Gotti, on the other hand, built a machine. When Blac Youngsta joined CMG, he was immediately seen as a soldier in Gotti's army. Then came 2017.
Obviously, the Blac Youngsta thing, he got arrested for being affiliated with what happened in Charlotte. Do you care to comment on that at all?
I ain't got nothing to do with it. Don't give a damn about it.
Young Dolph's bulletproof SUV was shot over 22 times in Memphis, Tennessee, but days later, Blac Youngsta was arrested for questioning, though charges were dropped later. Even though nothing is proven, all evidence suggests that was the point of no return. The internet went crazy saying Blac Youngsta was the trigger man, the muscle, the enforcer for CMG. Lots of fans think the move cemented his role as Memphis's most hated op, one commenter said on YouTube. And from that point on, the streets never looked at him the same. Trolling turned menacing. Blac Youngsta embraced the villain role. After the 2017 shooting, instead of laying low, he doubled down. He made diss tracks mocking Dolph, filmed music videos in front of houses with street connections to Dolph's crew, and posted cryptic messages online. Some conspiracy theories reveal that he was sending coded threats. Fans dissected every frame of his videos like they were watching a documentary.
Blac Youngsta has been receiving a little bit of backlash.
Why is that?
A lot of backlash.
Why is that? I wonder why.
Because he performed his Young Dolph diss at one of his shows.
One particularly infamous moment, Blac Youngsta performed his Dolph diss Shake Some just days after Dolph's
Gonna
death
shake
in
some, gonna
2021.
shake some.
The crowd
And that song did go hard, you know what I'm saying? I ain't know it was about Dolph though, but yeah, it did go hard though. Gonna shake some. Mask up, yeah, man, yeah.
It was wild, but online, it caused outrage. It's not confirmed, but all evidence points towards him celebrating the hit, someone commented. That moment further solidified his image as Memphis's most dangerous instigator. The industry pushes back. But with his street fame came industry problems. Brands didn't want to associate with him. Other rappers kept their distance. Radio cooled off on his records. The controversy was overshadowing the music. Even within CMG, there were whispers he was becoming a liability. Around 2022, he began fading from mainstream coverage. Interviews slowed down, appearances became rare, but Blac Youngsta didn't stop moving. He just went deeper underground. Family tragedy, the loss that changed everything. In 2023, tragedy hit. His brother was shot and killed in Memphis.
But the Blac Youngsta, you know what I'm saying, situation was his brother.
Man.
We were more leaning towards it wasn't, you know, everything else is what's being said. You know,
Well, he declared war on the ops. He said he's gonna get revenge.
Many fans think it was retaliation. Blac Youngsta responded with emotion but not grief. He posted chilling messages online and dropped new music that many believe referenced revenge. Even though nothing is confirmed, conspiracy theories link that shooting to the fallout of the Dolph beef. The pain was evident. He became even more militant, more aggressive, and more paranoid. The villain rebrand. He called himself the Villain. His album Black Sheep was a dark, chaotic mix of rage, trauma, and Memphis-coded warnings. In interviews, he stopped justifying anything. He spoke in circles, dropped veiled threats, and laughed at controversy. It's like he wants the world to hate him, one fan wrote on Reddit. But maybe that's the point. The legacy of a street kingpin turned outlaw. Today, Blac Youngsta isn't topping the Billboard charts, but in Memphis, his name still rings bells. He's feared, respected, hated. Some people called him a misunderstood product of the streets. Others say he's the very reason violence still plagues the Memphis rap scene. Even though the courts haven't tied him to anything, the streets have already made up their mind. And while the world may never know the full truth behind Young Dolph's murder, one thing is certain, Blac Youngsta's story is far from over. Because from stocking shelves as a 10-year-old to becoming Memphis's most hated op, Blac Youngsta isn't just part of the story, he is the story.
Yeah, man. You know, so I give it up to, you know what I'm saying, I give Blac Youngsta, you know what I'm saying, his props, man. When he stepped into the scene, definitely did that, you know what I'm saying. Too bad that, you know what I'm saying, he sent through shots, you know what I'm saying, at Dolph or whoever did, you know what I'm saying. And when I say sent through shots, I mean, you know what I'm saying, just lyrically. You feel what I'm saying? They had their words back and forth. I'm not talking about, you know what I'm saying, he actually did, you know what I'm saying. But yeah, man, appreciate y'all watching the videos with me, you know what I'm saying. This is Jackpot's reaction, and until next time, I'm out.